There has been a lot going on recently with XRP, and today we're going to be jumping right down into the price action to take a look at what's been going on most recently. Here we have XRP paired up with USDT on the hourly chart, and Binance is our data source. Now, following on from the previous video, we were talking about a potential move down to 44.06 and 44.053 here. So essentially what we're looking at is this little zone, and for the most part, I think we just felt a little bit short of it, and I think this actually marks the end of this structure, and now we can talk about the next one. So I'm going to quickly just go ahead and update this. So we're a little bit off with our expectations on this one, but I do think it comes in right down here, a little bit short, but I'm just going to mark it up as a C wave at that point there, so we can zoom out and we can pay attention to the trend lines and the fact that we had the ABC structure coming up and ABC structure coming down and breaking out of the trend line. And if I do go ahead and just adjust this back up here a fraction, you can see that we're really fighting this area now as resistance. Okay, so if I come on into this area here, I've got a few other yellow boxes here, and these are basically areas that I think we have reasonable levels of demand, okay, or areas where we have some supply-based issues. Okay, so when we take a look at these, we can see that it consolidated around this really thin one just here, was resistance, we broke through it, turned it into support. Over here we consolidated, we broke through, turned it back to support, was support. We broke through, turned it to support, again broke through. We haven't retested this, so this is going to be an interesting zone. I do think we're going to retest this range, basically 45.48 to 45.61. So let's go ahead and apply some Elliott wave on here, just so we understand where we're likely to kind of retrace to, because I'm seeing this as a potential move. Let me just pull that in, which actually would mean pulling back down to the lower demand zone, actually looking at it. So this would look more like this, A, B, and coming down into the lower box here at C, which means we'll have to go all the way through it. But I would estimate that we'd probably try to turn it into support and fail. So it'd be interesting to kind of keep an eye on that. Now, the second one down here, the second box, you can also see was an area that there was a lot of selling pressure occurring. We broke through it, we turned it into support. Again, that turned it into a lot of buying pressure over this side. We broke through it. We haven't really retested it much until recently, where we came back in here. It was still a lot of buying pressure in this range. So if we come back down, we could estimate that this is going to be an area where buyers are likely to be. So I'm going to just quickly label this up. I'm just going to throw a little label on here and just call it demand. Okay, demand. Essentially, this would be the little demand box that I do think we're likely to come down into. Now, at the top here, you would also have a supply box. Okay, this supply box is where the sellers are, and you can see that we broke through it, but we're really unable to kind of keep this area as a demand zone, and unable to convert the supply to demand. And so up here, I'm going to type in a little note to call this supply as well, because I do think that that is where that sits. Now, with this three-wave drop to the bottom down here, we would then have to look at this again from our Elliott waves. We'll go ahead and draw this on. We'll estimate that this is going to be our low point just down here, which of course would be about 45.24 approximately. But I'll go ahead and actually get the exact number that I'm expecting here. A little bit deeper than that. Yeah, it'll be a little bit deeper. I would expect 45.23. So I will go ahead and actually, whilst I'm here, put a little label on there for that C wave. Okay, and then I will go ahead and adjust this down just by 1 to give us an idea as to where we're going. And you can see we're going to be coming right back up into the supply zone, right at the top here. Okay, so coming down into demand and then up into the supply. So it looks like this would actually come in. Let me grab a little label, throw this right on here. So it's hard to see the numbers. I can appreciate that on the screen there. It's basically 47.23. Okay, let's get rid of that. And then we'll throw this on. So it goes up in A, down in B, up in C, like so. Okay. And then basically that then brings us right back into this range. Now, there's going to be some pattern traders out there that will look at this and think, it's a head and shoulder pattern or something like that. Probably is. I know a pattern trader, that's not really what I do here. I look at the psychology of how people are trading and acting, hence Elliott wave theory. And I do like the supply zones, the concepts of, smart money concepts is an interesting one that I'm looking into at the moment as well. So this is keeping this in mind, that essentially we have this kind of motion to the upside here, but we can't really move up until we correct on down. Now, from our momentum indicator, we can of course see that we're reasonably high here on the 1 hour. So we would expect some kind of retracement. This would get us into that kind of 45.23 cent range, and then we can rally back up again. But I'm not expecting terribly too much. That being said, there is some fantastic news going on with the SEC and the Ripple lawsuit. These things are great. News and things like that can sometimes be catalyst for movement to the upside or to the downside. But for the most part, when we get into some technical data, there are some technical things that actually happen in the background of the data that necessarily retail investors don't want to acknowledge. And unfortunately, being overbought or oversold is one of these metrics that sometimes go a little bit over the head of the retail investor. So one of the things that we should be concerned with is that weekly time frame and the fact that a weekly is overbought. When a weekly time frame is overbought, it does generally mean that we're going to see some significant downsides. As you can see, we're up here on this overbought area. Now, if I come and bring this down, just reflect on this weekly chart here for a second, bring that stochastic RSI back up. I want to acknowledge that this was the last time that we were overbought, okay? And now we're overbought up here. Okay, so we can see that we've gone down into lower highs whilst going back up into this area. Now, this is not a basic divergence. We're not really seeing it that way. I mean, you can look at it like that if you want. Basically, you have a divergence in the way that the stochastic RSI is up in the overbought area with your price being lower than before. But essentially, what we'll want to be acknowledging here is that this is weak. It's not strong. And the last time that we actually were up in this overbought area and we moved down, we had a 69% drop. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to drop down 69%. Nothing moves exactly the same way, but there should be some kind of move to the downside to correct us, and the price of XRP will unfortunately fall down with it. Okay, so we should just be aware that these things they don't generally stay up in the overbought area for a huge period of time. They can stay up there for a bit, but eventually those or the demand and those buyers, those retail buyers, will eventually run dry. Okay, that being said, the fundamental news side of things is a big catalyst, specifically if this lawsuit closes earlier than I would expect. I'm thinking either the end of the year or the beginning of next. I'm not expecting it to kind of close within the next kind of week or so. So I do think there's room for XRP's price to retrace and get a better entry place. But that's personally where I feel it is going. And it's probably worth noting that I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you financial advice. All I can do is give you my thoughts and opinions on the data in the charts as I see it. So I'm going to leave this video right there. A brief update on XRP, what I think is going on, and all that wonderful stuff. If you found it useful, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you haven't joined us in Discord, the link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. Guys, until the next one, have a fantastic day.